can, take it in any direction you want. I wanted to say welcome to everybody. Welcome back. Great to see everybody today. Only been 2 weeks since we saw each other last, but it seems like a lot has happened because a lot has happened. As I texted you guys during the week, there's a lot of stuff going on in our country right now, and I don't know how everybody feels about it. We don't need to get into politics, but it's important that we don't take our eye off the ball of what we really value, and the guys that we work with, the opportunity to lift them up as people, to continue to invest in them, and to invest in yourselves as well. The season's starting, as you guys know. I know for us, we play on the 25th. Most of you guys probably do too. And so we literally got 17 days until the game. And there was a time there where it felt like we didn't know when we were going to play again. So it's a pretty cool thing that's coming soon, but there's some anxieties that come with that as well. And the thing I want you guys to make sure you keep in mind, very, very important as the season gets started, is that you continue to invest in your own professional development as you get into the season. It would really, really be easy just to kind of lose track of that and just to put 100% of your energy into what you're doing today or tomorrow's practice or the next day's scouting report. But remember, there's 4 things that go into you becoming a successful head coach. That's you doing an excellent job in your current position. That's number 2, you developing and documenting your own head coaching philosophy, which you will be able to add to after hearing from Coach Williams in a minute. Number 3, that's aggressively building your network. People can help you become a successful head coach. People on this call, people that have been on this call in the past and have provided you guys with their contact information. And then number 4, honing your interviewing skills. And a month or so ago, we got some practice on that. We're going to practice some more because it's just like we tell the players, you work on something once, that doesn't mean you got it all figured out. We got to keep working. But I swear to you guys, if you continue to just invest an hour here, an hour there into those, really the last 3 things, the first one, doing an excellent job in your current job, you're obsessed with that day, every day. I know that. But really building your philosophy and building your contacts and honing your interviewing skills. So with that in mind, we're going to get started with Coach Williams. First and foremost, a guy that I'm thankful to be able to call a friend. You're not going to meet a better person in the game of basketball than Monty Williams. A phenomenal basketball player back in the day. Played at Notre Dame, had a great, great career there, was a first-round pick from the New York Knicks. Long NBA career, played for 5 teams in the NBA. So he's been there and done that from the standpoint of playing that all the guys that he coaches are doing now. So he's had all those experiences. He started in the NBA with his coaching career in 2005, worked as an assistant coach in the NBA for several years, and then became the head coach at New Orleans, first the Hornets, and became the Pelicans. Did a terrific job there, helped mentor a phenomenal young player in Anthony Davis. And then, after being the head coach in New Orleans, also continued to coach in different places, worked for Billy Donovan, who I used to work for at Oklahoma City, was in the front office with San Antonio, and then became the head coach of the Phoenix Suns. He's done a phenomenal job with the Phoenix Suns, was named the coach of the year of the NBA bubble because those guys, I'm sure you guys followed it, the Suns were flat out tremendous in the bubble and, really, really demonstrated how good they're going to be moving forward. As I mentioned, Coach Williams has 2 sons. He also has 3 daughters and is a phenomenal father. I've had the chance to be around him a little bit with his kids, and you can see just the love and care that he has. And it's no coincidence that reflects in his coaching as well. So Super excited to have you here, Coach. Thanks for taking a little time to spend with us.
Man, I'm trying to figure out who you're talking about. No, Coach, it's so cool to be with you, man. You've been such a good friend since my first time at UT. You just opened up the door for me to come there and learn and be a part of the development of your program. It's really helped me do some of the things I'm trying to do now. I learned a ton being with you. Those drives up to Austin from San Antonio were super beneficial for me and as a person and as a coach. And it's really helped me develop and build what we're trying to do here in Phoenix, little by little. So I reciprocate that sentiment back at you, bro. You've been tremendous for me. The text messages, you always, you're so timely. You know, sometimes we forget to just stay in touch with guys because we get busy and we get, you know how we get. And you seem to send the right text message at the right time, man. And so I just want to thank you for that in front of the brothers on the call, man. You're a standard. And I hope all you guys understand what you get to do when you get to chop it up with Coach. So thank you, my brother.
Well, we're just excited to have you here. On the call is a really dedicated group of coaches that come together every couple of weeks just to learn and share with each other. And so we want to learn from you. You talk to us. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, then I'm going to open it up to anyone on the call. Talk to us about your journey, how, kind of how you knew that you were going to get into coaching after a phenomenal playing career, or even while you were still playing, and then just some of the twists and turns in your journey that you can share with the coaches on the call that they can learn from.
Yeah. I mean, I was one that didn't think much about coaching. I had to be reminded that I may have the aptitude to do it. The first time anybody said anything to me about coaching was Doc Rivers. And I was in the middle of my career in Orlando. And, he just out of the blue one day said, man, you're going to coach one day. And I thought he was nuts because I was like, there's no way I'm going to do what you do every day. And it wasn't until I was done and I tore my knee up pretty bad. And my wife and I were building a house in Texas. And I was talking to Pop about, moving to Texas and my career and just trying to figure out if I was going to keep trying to play and get my knee drained and shooting cortisone in there and doing all the stuff you do so you can play. And he said, well, why don't you just come by and you're moving here already. Why don't you come by and see what we do and, just hang out. And I did that for like 3 months, maybe longer. I just went by the gym and I'd get there before they started and I'd leave. When they finished practice, I'd leave. And I was just taking notes the whole time. Never knew that they were paying attention to what I was doing. And about 3-4 months into that, they started sending me on. They asked me that I want to go on a scouting trip. And I was like, yeah, I had nothing else going on. And it was one scouting trip and then another and then another. And then I was invited to be an assistant on the summer league team, which was valuable for me to be around the coaching day and daily grind, because as a player, you're pretty much responsible for yourself. If you're in the league for a while, you have a few young guys that you mentor, but for the most part, you're devoting 5-6 hours to your game and your body, and then you go home. And I wasn't accustomed to the 8 to 12 and longer days. And I was so blessed to be around PJ Carlissimo, Donnie Newman, who's gone to be with the Lord, R.C. Buford, and Pop allowed me to just be around it every day. And it really helped me to make a decision. And so that's how I got started. It wasn't because I was thinking about coaching when I was playing. It was just being around it. I thought, like, am I going to start a business? Am I going to go back to school? This is what I've done since I was 10 years old, organized basketball. And I love the gym. I had to learn what that day looked like, because it's a bit different than my player day. I had to understand, the grind. And so Pop he and RC afforded me that opportunity.
I'm going to bounce ahead a little bit. Can you talk about, I think you probably heard, one of the things that we encourage the coaches on this call to do is really build out their own head coaching philosophy.
Sure.
Just talk about how that evolved for you as you became an assistant coach and then became a head coach, and then even how it's changed since you were a first-time head coach.
Sure. I think the mistake that I made, and it wasn't like I wasn't educated on it, but the mistake that I made was trying so hard to be like Pop. He was my mentor. He was my coach. He was the guy that I could call in the middle of the night for advice. He was the guy for me. And he would tell us, when we got head jobs or went off to be assistants, he would say, hey, just be you. That's good enough. And so when I got the job in New Orleans, I found myself doing stuff or saying things that was good, but it just wasn't me. And it unfortunately, when I got fired, it allowed for me to really take a good look at myself and develop my own philosophy. And when I got fired, I was obviously hurt by that, but the thing that was on my heart wasn't necessarily losing the job. It was the Bible verse, Matthew 6:33. It says, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. And I realized that I was not necessarily doing that. I was trying so hard to win and be like Pop that I didn't necessarily own my program by putting my imprint on that particular program. And I remember in between that job and Phoenix, that the thing that I wanted more than anything, it was a prayer of mine. I said, God, if I ever get a chance to do it again, I want to have a job that I'm excited about every single day. That was more than winning. I wanted to be excited about going to work. And we all want to win, but that was something that appealed to me more than anything. And in order to do that, Coach, I had to develop a culture, or at least try to, that would allow for that. And it allowed me and the coaches to come up with 5 pillars that we believe will allow for that for us in this program. It was, show up on time, compete, defend, share the ball. And the last one was a bit of a consideration, and that was gratitude. And so it morphed from, Pop's philosophy and RC's philosophy, which was selfless character and pound the rock. That was a San Antonio Spurs thing for that time. If you go to New England and you spend time with Belichick and those guys, they'll say, tough, smart, dependable. That's what they value, and you fall into the trap of trying to do that. And that stuff's good. But if it's not unique to you and your personality and your style, you're probably going to fall into some pitfalls, because you're trying to, live up to something that it's just hard. And I had a pastor tell me a long time ago, he said, Mont, if 2 of us are alike, one of us is not necessary. And it really forced me, after being fired, to dive into who I really was as a coach. I'm not a guy that's going to come in and cuss guys out. I'm direct. I can be pretty curt at times, but my greatest strength is encouragement. I just know I do that well. I knew it when I was a kid. My granddad used to tell me that I was that. And so it being an encourager and being excited about my job every day pretty much lined up. And so it forced me to dive in and develop a culture and value system that would allow for me to be excited about those things. And what I tell our guys is, you know, if you do these 5 things, and the last one is a bit of a consideration, I'm pretty flexible with everything else. You know, I'm not going to legislate everything. I don't think that's my job. I want our guys to feel the same way. And so it evolved, you know, Coach, as we do over the course of our careers. It has evolved from wanting to be like my mentor to, you know, I think just scratching the surface on, you know, being who I am and imprinting that on our program.
Real quick, before we open it up, can you just talk about gratitude and what made you choose that as that last core value?
Yeah, I just think it's something that I lose sight of, and I see it daily. The amount of money that we all make in this business, I'll be the first to tell you I'm way overpaid. At the same time, I still find myself getting excited about the duffel bag that we get at the beginning of the season with NBA socks and T-shirts and sweatsuits, man. I'm like, and I don't want to lose that. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing that the status and the fame and the money and the stuff can smother that at times. And I shamefully tell you, man, I've let it happen a number of times in my career. And I had a pastor friend of mine up in Oregon named Brett Metter, and he used to talk about, you know, our Bible studies in Oregon. He would be like, you know, this is a get to and not a got to. And it really stuck with me because that's how I now look at basketball and what we do. It's a get to, not a got to. And so the gratitude part basically comes from that, you know, having this understanding that what we do, whether it's the NBA, college, or high school, it's a get to, not a got to. You know, none of us are, you know, working like my granddad who raised me, digging ditches and bricklaying and cutting grass for 15 hours a day. You know what I'm saying? I watched that in my childhood in Fredericksburg, Virginia. I'm not going to school or going to work 8 to 10 hours and then coming home and then going to community college for another 3 hours like my mother. You know, I look at what I'm doing and I'm just like, how did I fall into this, you know, compared to the people that helped raise me. I don't ever want to lose sight of the fact that this is a get to and not a got to on every level. You know, if you took the money away, I think we all would still be doing this in some form or fashion. I think all of us on this call on Saturday morning would be looking for a game, right? Like that's what we do. So we could go talk trash and hang out. And that's where the gratitude piece came for me. I try to remind the guys, even in the midst of what we're going through right now, you know, with all the unrest in our society, political, financial, health, we still get to play basketball. You know, we still get to work out for a living. All of us get to draw up plays and come up with philosophies. Like, that's a get to. And I don't want to lose sight of that. And I have to remind myself, you know, from time to time when I'm watching film at 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever we do, you know what I mean? It's still a get to and not a got to.
Y'all don't be shy. We got Coach Williams on this call. It doesn't happen a lot. So Fireson, go ahead.
I have a question. How you doing, Coach? J.R. Reynolds, Miami, Ohio. Great play this year, man. Great job. Question, Coach, with the young nucleus that you had, a lot of guys that might have individual goals in place in mind. What was one of the ways you got that team to buy in and play such good team basketball down the stretch this season?
Well, you know, I want to hear those goals from the guys. You know, I think the coaches that I've had in the past had an empathy, and sometimes a sympathy, but an empathy for my career. They knew that I was a guy that, you know, year in, year out was fighting for a contract. And the ones that cared about that typically were the ones that you connect with, even if you can't, even if you don't necessarily help them specifically achieve those goals. And so I spend a lot of time talking to them about, what they want to do. And we have a saying here in Phoenix: everything you want is on the other side of hard. The hardest thing to do at times is to put the personal stuff aside, dive into the team, and somehow, some way, doing the right thing, you get that personal stuff and more. But it's hard to do that. We all struggle with that. We all want to be known as, the coach that draws up the play, the coach that has a great program. And I think for the most part, the guys that put that to the side and dive into the team usually get most of that, if not all of it, but they get more than they even bargained for. But it's hard. It's something we all fight, I think, pride, the selfishness. And, one of my best friends is Tim Duncan. He's the standard for me when it comes to that mindset. He could have averaged 35 a night. But if you look at his averages, they're always in the 20s. He would kill me if I told you guys this, but he left, over the course of his career, he left $75 million on the table because he understood the importance of team. He could have made a ton more money, had way more endorsements, but he just had this ability, this wherewithal to put that stuff aside. And that's, I tell, a few of our guys those stories because they hear about Tim, they've seen the 5 championships. And I'm like, well, let me tell you how he did it in part. And so sharing some of those stories, I think listening to our guys, pushing them to be the best version of themselves daily. And then, the thing that I probably didn't do well in New Orleans, man, I'm probably more apt to allow our guys to play a bit more free than I did in New Orleans. I was like a third world dictator running around with a machete in my hand, acting like an idiot in New Orleans. And I look at myself back then, I'm like, man, I don't want to be that guy anymore, even though I find myself going there sometimes. I think the guys in the league that know they can come to the gym and be the best version of themselves and have the freedom to play, but also know they're going to get pushed, seem to be the teams that are moving in a good place. And that's a hard balance, man, because, we all at times feel like we're kind of selling our soul when we allow certain things and we fight it, right? Like we go home like, man, I wish I would have, chewed that kid out or whatever it is. And that's something that I'm still trying to balance, and not quite sure I'm doing a good job of that. But to answer your question about the Orlando games, that was our focus, just getting better, listening to the guys, understanding where they wanted to go. I told them when we went in 2 things. We were going to focus on getting better, and we had to navigate the unknown with the virus and all the stuff that was happening. I said, look, we're going to have something every 2 days. Probably going to, we started with 6 or 7 players because we had so many guys that were hurt or couldn't make it. And so we had to navigate the unknown. I think it's going to be the same thing for all of us as we approach this season.
Hey, Coach, I had a question. This is Joe Hughley from Wake Forest. Thank you for taking your time, talking to us tonight. I had a question. I know it's a little different in the league, but how do you get, guys to like buy in to be part of something bigger than themselves? Because everything these days is about me. What's your philosophy on that, and how do you get those guys to buy into something bigger than yourself? Because at the end of the day, the W matters and everybody wins.
Shucks, man, you hold me in high regard. I don't. If I had to start somewhere, man, James Jones has done a really good job of bringing in those kinds of players. You know, we'll take lesser talent for more capacity. The guys that have the character and integrity to push themselves. You know, I tell James, like, you know, get those guys who can handle a tough day. You know, everybody can deal with a win streak and, you know, Twitter likes and face family, whatever that stuff, you know, all those guys can, you know, they love that. But get the guys that can deal with a tough film session. Get the guys that, you know, after a loss are going to come back in the next day. And that's hard, you know, because talent is so intoxicating. But the one thing that we have here is we had, you know, when I first took the job, Devin Booker and I went out to eat, and he was like, "Coach, whatever you need, I'll do it." And I think for the most part, and he's still young and still finding himself, we have guys that, you know, want to do the right thing. I try to remind them as best I can. But I don't have the panacea for that, for sure. It's just something we all work at. You know what I mean? I'm constantly, you know, I'm reading this one right now. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's The Hard Hat by John Gordon. Probably one of the best teamwork books I've read in a while. This is a good one too. Every Moment Matters by John O'Sullivan. You know, I've been reading those two books slowly the last few weeks, just trying to figure that part out. You know, I think it's something that's elusive. It's a bit of a moving target based on your personality of your team. And that's where I'm trying to be as flexible as I can as it relates to that particular topic and question.
Hey, Coach Williams, Mark Blocker at Delphi University. Thanks for joining us today. Can you talk a little bit about your staff in the bubble, like in your coaches' meetings? What did you bring to the table to tell your staff, look, with everything that's going on, we kind of need to keep the guys focused? I'm curious about that because out of all the teams in the bubble, you guys competed every quarter, and you didn't see that from all the teams. You could see there was a level of distraction, and rightfully so. So can you talk about those staff meetings you had before going into practices?
Yeah, I mean, you know, our staff meetings are pretty much everybody bringing something every day. You know, that's something that I was taught. A quick story. Hopefully I can make it quick, but I was in San Antonio coaching, and I was just kind of listening every day. You know what I mean? I didn't think I had anything to add because I was just getting involved. And I'll never forget, we were on a flight to go on a road trip. And I was below the video guys. I was the intern. You know what I mean? I was like mushroom. And I was in the back of the plane, and Pop came back there and sat beside me. He said, "Hey, at first he sat beside me, and I was like, what's he doing? You know, because normally he was up front with the coaches getting ready for the next game. I think we're in the playoffs. And he said, "Hey, you're enjoying your vacation?" And I was like, just messed up, man. I had, you know, and I was like, "What, Pop?" He said, "Listen, if you're going to be around here, you're going to add to the pot." And he got up and went back to his seat. I was like, holy toes. You know, it made me, you know, here's a guy that's greatest coach maybe of our era, right? And he's like, we need you. And so I've tried to bring that as far as our meetings are concerned. Everybody has a voice. I certainly have to make the final decision, but I'm not the coach that I can be without what they do and what they bring to the table. And one of the things that Nate McMillan did for me in Portland was he gave me a chance every day to be a head coach. And he was the guy. Like, Nate's my big brother. And I don't know if you guys know Nate McMillan, but he is a great dude and tough as nails. and one of the best people, but I was the youngest guy on the staff, and every day he gave me a chance to be a head coach. And I try to do that now. You know, we have Willie Green and Kevin Young and Mark Bryant. And we have really smart guys. And I think the thing that helps me is allowing those guys to run practices a lot. And I find myself being fresher. Because I, you know, there's days, man, I can make a nun cuss. You let me run the whole practice and a lot of upset cats. You know what I mean? You just, because you're pushing guys. And because they respect us so much as head coaches, they don't want to step on our toes with an idea or a way to do things. And I'm finding that taking a step back allows for them to be the best version of themselves. And I'm fresher because it's a long season. I mean, right now we got 72 games in a short period of time. And the one thing you're fighting all the time is the burnout. You know, the grind will wear you out, bro. And your kids will tell you, you come home and like, Daddy, you okay? I'm like, yeah, man, I'm just tired, dude. And so that was one thing that we did. And I hope we can continue that is, you know, I hope I took a step back so that Willie could be the best version of himself and have a big voice on our team. And it takes, you know, it's a work in progress, but I know for sure we did that in the bubble. That was what our meetings were about, bringing something every day, but also allowing our assistants to feel like head coaches every day.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Hey, Coach Williams, Nigel Thomas, assistant coach, North Carolina Central University. Appreciate you being on. I was going through some notes the other day, and I actually still have a handwritten note from you back when you first got to OKC. And you put some scriptures on there, John 16:24, John 5:11-12. I know this may be a difficult question, but 2016 obviously was a life-changing time for you. Can you speak about what you learned about yourself during that time?
Yeah, I mean, right out the gate, I can tell you I'm nowhere near what people think I am. You know, it was pretty evident when I lost Ingrid that she was the rock and the backbone of our family. And I didn't realize how dependent I was on myself and her. And I had to allow people to help me. You know, I was raising 5 kids by myself overnight. And, you know, obviously, you know, you have to trust people because there's no, you know, who's getting the Father of the Year. Like that's an award that, you know, if you do get it, you should probably shoot the person that gave it to you because it ain't worth anything. You're just trying to do the best you can with your kids. And it taught me to trust people. It taught me to, but also keep good people around me because I needed help. I was doing so much, man. I was doctor's appointments, PTA meetings, practices. I had one young girl. My oldest was a senior in high school, about to graduate and go to college, all the way down to my little boy who was at the time in kindergarten. And so you know, my life changed just like that. And I had to really trust the people around me for guidance and allow people to, you know, help me raise my kids. And, you know, it's one of those things that I wouldn't wish on anyone. We all go through stuff though. That was hard and it still is hard for me, but also learn that the Lord is good, man. He can get you through anything. You know, I'm exhibit A for that. I laugh at you know, I don't laugh, but I just kind of like, when people say stuff and you know, Shaka's nutty enough to have me on this thing with you guys, I'm like, goodness gracious, man, God makes you look better than you deserve. And the thing that I have said about my life and career for sure is that God knocks it out of the park and I get to run the bases. And even in the midst of the hardest thing I've ever been through in my life, he got me through, you know, and I never dreamed that I'd be coaching again. Cause I when that happened, guys, I checked out. I was like, I'm done. You know, I don't, this doesn't add up, you know, for her to have to go that way and for my kids to lose their mom, just didn't add up. You know, I had made enough money. I was going to buy about 1,000 acres out in Wyoming or somewhere, and I was out. I was taking my kids, and I was talking to R.C. Buford one time, and I expressed to him that I probably won't coach again. It's just not something I can do. I got to take care of my kids. And he said, "Mont, your kids wouldn't be the same without you being a coach." He said, "That's who you are." And it really struck me, you know, how much my kids, you know, loved what I do, you know what I mean? And so that wouldn't have happened had I not opened up my heart to let people in, because that wasn't who I was before. I probably was more prideful than I ever want to admit, more arrogant than most people would even dare to think. And going through that and losing Ingrid like that broke me, but it also opened me up to allow people to help me move forward.
Thank you for being an inspiration, man. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Coach Williams, how you doing? This is Coach Jared Drake, head basketball coach at Southeastern Illinois College. Can't wait to get the chance to tell Pat Magley I got a chance to talk to you, man. He's a great mentor of mine. I love Pat. But quick question. When exploring job opportunities, what are some of your non-negotiables when looking for a fit?
Well, you know, I've had some weird situations in interviews. I've had people one guy challenged my faith one time that was really off base. And that experience was just weird. And I remember leaving the hotel room and calling my wife at the time, my first wife. And I said, "Hey, I just finished." She's like, "You got the job?" I said, "Nah," because it wasn't going to be a good fit. I've lost jobs because I told the people in power, in those positions of power and responsibility, that winning was not the most important thing to me. I told them winning and relationships were the most important thing, and they took that as a weakness. And so it wasn't going to be a good fit. I think you have to be willing, if you can, you know, sometimes the finances, they are what they are, guys. I mean, we all want to make money and take care of our families. But if you can, you know, find the job that fits you best. And it's hard, you know, there's no perfect fits, obviously, but that's for me, it was, you know, finding the job that was going to fit me. Now, before I got a head job, the first time I got a chance to be a head coach, I knew, you know, unfortunately, as an African-American, I wasn't going to get Golden State with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson sitting there. That wasn't going to happen. It could, but it just, not my first job. And to be honest with you, Pop told me that right out the gate. You know, a white guy told me, he said, "Mont, you're Black and you're a former player." He said, "So you got 2 strikes against you." A white guy told me that. And he said, "You better get your butt out here and work." And I was like, "Yes, sir, Pop." And so all those lessons and pearls of wisdom, you know, helped me early on. But then as you move forward in your journey as a coach, you realize that if you're afforded the opportunity, the fit, and being able to align yourself with people with the same values as yours, is one of the reasons why I came here. Was, you know, James Jones and I don't always agree, but our values are aligned. And that was something that really appealed to me. I coached James when I was in Portland as an assistant, and admired him from afar and watched him. You know, he was a pro his whole career. And so I knew we had the same value systems. And then when we talked on the phone and then talked in person, it was a good fit. And so that's one part of how I look at it, you know, trying to find the jobs that fit, you know, me. Obviously, it's not going to be perfect. It's not always going to be symmetric, but if you can find, you know, those types of jobs, I think you could be more productive.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Anthony Goins here from Clemson University. I actually, your video coordinator, Ryan Frazier, I coached him in high school. I
drive that boy crazy. Listen, I just got finished texting Ryan because he's got to get the gym set tomorrow. We move into our new practice site.
Yeah.
And if Ryan told you the truth, man, he'd be like, Coach is he got to keep his phone on, man. He's a good dude.
all he tells me is I got to be the best version of myself every day. That's all he says. But no, Coach, you talked about having a young team with guys that had a lot to learn, and you know, even talked about, you know, Devin Booker getting better at things. You know, a lot of times when you have those situations and guys having things to learn, there's frustration and you know, guys trying to figure out like where they fit in. What's some of the ways that you were able to kind of keep those guys confident while they were learning?
Yeah, I mean, trying to forecast that is helpful. You know, letting the guys know that there's going to be tough times. We all do that. The thing that I learned in my career, most of my career, I was a role player. You know, I started a lot, but for the most part, I was a role guy. And the coaches that kept me engaged, even as a role player, were the ones that, you know, you just run through a wall for. And so, you know, I hope, and you don't know for sure, but I hope that the guys at the end of our bench feel valued. You know, shooting those guys that random text message, or, you know, it's hard for you guys to do this stuff, but, you know, getting those guys a gift certificate to wherever, just so they feel like they're a part of the program. It's so hard to get lost. And you constantly, I think, always trying to make sure that everybody understands that they have value. One of the things I'm trying to do here, and not quite sure I do a good enough job as I can, I try to get guys to understand each other's situation. We have a thing that we do on film, and Ryan could tell you, we call it Who Dat. And dat is like DAT because of my time in New Orleans. And we put up Who Dat, and then we put up a random question about someone on our team, and people have to try to figure out like who we're talking about. And it could be about their upbringing, Dario Sarge's upbringing in Croatia, Cheick Diallo in Mali, Devin Booker growing up in Michigan and in Mississippi. Like, we try to get guys to have an understanding of everyone's background and who they are. I think if you know, players and coaches know each other, the more you know about somebody, the more you care about them, type thing. And so we just try to, you know, make sure that we all value who we are as people.
Okay.
And so it's something that we work at. We try to
blow it,
but it creates a bit of, I hope, empathy for guys, and hopefully it brings us all together.
Okay, appreciate it.
Hey, Coach Williams, how you doing? It's Dan Daniels from Lincoln Trail. Thank you for taking the time out with us. So it's my first year coaching. Last year I was playing overseas in China, and it's a little difficult to kind of make the transition from playing to coaching, because I want to tell our guys what came easy for me, but some things that came easy for me might not come as easy to them. And also, I'm kind of wearing a lot of hats as far as being the head strength coach. I'm in charge of academics. I'm the head skill development guy here too. Could you just give me a little bit of advice? I'm just starting off. I listen. I try to join in on things like this to get advice from everybody here. So if you don't mind sharing some advice for me, just moving forward.
Goodness gracious, man, you got a lot on your plate. That's golly. I mean, for me, going from playing to coaching, I was so blessed to have guys who had been there, done that, and so I could watch them every day. PJ Carlissimo was somebody that I watched every day. If he wasn't cussing me out, he was teaching me something. Like, that's just PJ's language. Donnie Newman, Brett Brown. I was afforded, that opportunity to be around older, grizzled coaches who were in the class of been there, done that. And, just watching them allowed me to grow, or at least see what I was getting into. You may not be afforded that, but if you can, be on as many calls like this as you can, and just listening. Sometimes just listening to guys talk about stuff, even our problems, can help you figure out some stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because we all go through it. And try to develop your own core values. Like, what's your main thing that you're trying to get out of this, and let that be your lighthouse every day. For me, it's like, I want to be excited about work every day. Now, it's not always exciting, but that's a bit of a lighthouse for me. And just, my focus has to be on the Lord, because if it's not, man, I'm gonna blow this thing up. That's just the way it is for me. Mm-hmm. And so that transition can be tough and daunting. I get it. But the more, I still text message with Wayne Embry, who's a founding father of the NBA. I don't share a lot of stuff with him, but I just text him. I just check on him ever so often. Maybe one day he'll send me a pearl that changes our program. Creating those authentic relationships with people that have kind of been there, done that. Man, you can't put a dollar value on that, because the transition is hard. I don't know if that answer helps you at all, but I hope, if you can, whether it's a high school coach. Pop would tell us all the time, he said, hey, man, the best coaches in the world are coaching D3. I was like, what? He said, because they got to do more with less. And I was like, wow. Find those it doesn't matter the level. I'm not sitting here trying to wax eloquent like I got all the answers, bro. That ain't the deal. The best, I still talk to my high school coach to this day. I could show you right now a text from Taft Hickman, who coached me at Potomac High School. He and I just texted today. I still get text messages from him, and he'll tell me, like, take your time. I know you're frustrated. That stuff goes a long, long way. Having those older people in your life that have been there, done that, especially starting out. Okay. Appreciate it.
How you doing, Coach? Sorry about that.
Nice. Good to see you,
what's
man.
up, man? How you been, man? Good to see you.
Great.
Little story about us together in Denver when you used to beat me up on one-on-ones and took no mercy on me when I was a rookie. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. My question for you is, what's something like that you thought was so important for your team that you were coaching? Could have been technically, tactically, defensively wise, offensively wise, that you did in your first job, that now looking back wasn't so important and you don't use it anymore? And why?
I thought, like, for me, it was important to, as an African-American, I was too busy trying to show everybody what I knew. Right. I had a playbook about the size of, an encyclopedia. You know what I'm saying? And developing a new play, a new offense, like every month. I mean, it was like Hebrew math for the players. I mean, they're just like, goodness gracious, man. I found for us, simple is better. Less is more. We focus on, we have a detailed playbook, but what I'm trying to get our guys to understand, one, we haven't done anything, and two, playoff basketball is different than October basketball or regular season basketball. Playoff basketball, in my opinion, is environments, concepts, talent, and decisions. You can run all the plays you want, but if the guys can't make the plays, you ain't going anywhere. And so we focus on the plays. We script a lot, but we also focus on the environments in which plays are running, the concepts, whether it's DHOs or the angle of a screen or passing, playing in 0.5. But we also have a great respect for the talent we have. And we try to invest in our guys so they make good decisions. And so those four things are something that we really dive into to complement the plays. Because early on, I was like, I want to be the tricky coach that comes up with
It's too much.
That's just me trying. That's just pride. That's just me trying to look like, Auerbach, Naismith, Popovich. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's not who I am. I'm not that bright, So for me, it's like less is more. Keep it simple for our guys. Create these environments where that enhance their talents. If you have someone like Devin Booker, you don't want to get in his way. Pop taught me that a long time ago. He said they can say whatever they want to say about me, but they can't say I messed it up. And he would tell us from time to time, like, just don't mess it up. If you got good stuff, stay out of the way. And another thing that has really impacted me, he made this statement one time at a coach's retreat. He said, rules should not stifle talent. If your rule is stifling talent, then change the rule. And it was like an epiphany. I was scribbling it down, man. Nobody else was writing. And I realized that it was for me because I was the number one rule guy that stifled talent. You know what I'm saying? And so for us, it's like, for me, I hope I've grown in that area where I'm not trying to promote what I do and the tricky coach and all. For me, it's like, let's do what we think is best for the players. And with today's economy of young NBA guys coming out of, 1 year of college, most of our teams are filled with those guys. It's not like when I came out, I was 22 years old. I was in school for 5 years. I played 3. You know what I mean? I was ready to go. That's not the case. And so keeping it simple, but also giving guys these particular lighthouses that they can follow every day, but simple, allows for them to express their games. Doesn't overload them with too much.
Perfect. Thank you very much, man. Good to see you again.
Yeah, you too, brother.
Yep. Coach, how you doing? Lester Stewart, Casper College. I had a question. What would you say is your unique skill that you have used to your advantage while you've been coaching?
Unique skill. I mean, I think for the most part, man, if I had to identify what I might do well, it's encouragement. That's something that my granddad used to run a pastor of church in Winston-Salem, Cleveland Avenue Christian Church, and it was right in the hood. And my granddad was like, boy, you walk over there to the apartments and you come back riding the bike, and the boy who owned the bike was walking. And I realized that I might have a way with, encouragement or getting people to if I had to address that, it might be encouragement. I hope I have a decent feel. The one thing I want to work on, though, is the empathy, for our guys and for the people around me. Not walking around like I'm the, president-elect. That's. I hope when I walk away from all this, man, the coaches and players and people that I work with felt like I served them to a degree. That's the thing that I'm constantly focused on, is how can I serve the players, the coaches, the support staff, all those people that you get to touch every day. What's the point of winning if you don't, feel good about the journey with all the people that we get to work with? I mean, that's pretty boring and just not what I want to do. But I hope that I'm improving in that. But if I had to address one thing I think I'm decent at, is encouragement.
Thanks, Coach.
Hey, Coach. This is Aisha Foy, Director of Recruiting at the University of Kentucky Women's Basketball. My question is, one, thank you for coming and sharing. My question is, on a college level, we see a heightened mental health, crisis issues and things like that. I'm wondering, are you seeing the same thing on a professional level? And if so, what do you guys do to help that situation?
Yeah, I think it's being talked about more. I think we've always dealt with it. As men, we tend to not talk about the things we're going through as much, if at all. And so it's tougher for us because it's not something we do well. And one thing we want to do with our guys is let them know that their feelings are valid. The one cool thing that we have that you guys might not be afforded is we have more time for individuals because there's really no parameters on, how much we can practice. We have blackout days and we have a number that we have to hit. So I say that, I try to fix practice where we get through our tactical strategies and all the film, but we leave a lot of time for player development. And that's where coaches get to be with guys in a one-on-one setting, and guys are more apt to talk about the stuff they're going through because they may not want to talk to me because guys look at me the way they look at head coaches. They may get embarrassed, or you have to build a ton of equity as a head coach to get guys to open up. But the assistant coaches, they'll tell me some things, some stuff they have to hold in confidence. But developing those one-on-one opportunities, I think, allows for guys to talk because we just don't do it. I think all the guys would admit that we just don't talk about stuff because we're embarrassed or, whatever the case may be. But I have seen more guys express how they're dealing with the mental grind. And a lot of us don't even realize until we hear somebody else express it. And then we're like, yeah, I felt that way too. That's depression. You know what I mean? So we don't even know how to identify it. And so I think the league is doing a better job of bringing people around to the organizations to talk about these things. So at least when you hear about it, you can at least identify and maybe give, that person a call. But we have people on staff. I think every team now has someone in a counseling capacity that's there. But for the most part, the coaches are the counselors. We're the guys that guys will confide in, and the assistant coaches are really good at that. I mean, Willie Green and Mark Bryant, guys who, played over 1,000 games in the NBA, been through every experience. Our guys open up to them a lot about stuff they're going through, and it helps our program. And if you run into Avery and Madison Skinner, who play on the volleyball team, tell them Uncle Monty said hi.
I would do.
Those are my babies. I've known them since they were really, really small. So I know this is a bit of a digression, but I had to take advantage of that. Those are my babies.
What were their names again?
Avery and Madison Skinner. They play volleyball.
Gotcha.
Really sweet girls.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Coach, Mike Makovica from Florida Southern College. Thanks for joining us tonight. I wonder if you can talk about your experience with Team USA and what you learned from Coach K and Jerry Colangelo.
Well, you remember Sesame Street back in the day when they had that thing like 3 of these things are doing their own thing. 1 of these things like don't belong. Like that's what I learned. I was like, how did I get on this staff? Yeah, Coach K, Boeheim, Jerry Colangelo, Thibodeau. I was like, and then when I got the guys that were in my stable, I realized why I was there. I was a part of the crowd control because I was that coach. Like the previous question, like I was the guy. I built a lot of sweat equity with a lot of our players that were, we were overseas, they were by themselves, and we spent a lot of time on the court, and they would confide in me what they were going through or where they were in their careers. And I built a ton of really cool relationships from that experience. And I learned that there's a million ways to skin a cat. I mean, Coach K is a grinder. I mean, we win a game by 40. We get back to the hotel or the boat in the Olympics, and we were going to watch that game. And then we probably watched 2 or 3 more. And we'd be up till 2 or 3 o'clock, man. And you know, Thibodeau, who's a grinder, like that's all you know about Tibbs is that Tibbs, he works. And it'd be 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, man, and Tibbs would be almost out because you'd be hard pressed to mess with Coach K when it comes to grinding. That brother can go. And he would turn around and look at us and be like, guys, you guys can go to bed. I'm going to watch one more game. I would be like, what are you going to do? You going to leave? You know, it's Coach K. But then you have Coach Boeheim, and Coach Boeheim be like, we just won by 40. I'm not watching that. I'm not learning anything from that. And Coach Boeheim would go in the back of the room, man, and get on his phone. Because Coach Boeheim was it wasn't because he didn't believe in the details or film, but Coach Boeheim was just different than Coach K, and they're best friends, and they'll tell you the same story. They just do things differently. And that was the thing that I learned, is that you can have success doing stuff differently. Those guys are phenomenal, and they were great to me. And the relationships that happen organically when you're just working. I mean, that's all I did was just grind in the gym every day. I would run sprints with the guys to get a couple guys in shape who weren't in shape. I played one-on-one, let the guys beat up on me a little bit. And the relationships that came from sweat equity to this day, you know, we all have this. We won 2 gold medals, traveled all over the place, and we have these special relationships. But for me, in my position, a lot of it was built on the floor. Just getting after it every day, whether it was player development or playing one-on-one. I could never pay for that experience. And I was so blessed to be invited to do that.
Thank you for sharing.
Absolutely.
Hey, Coach, how you doing? This is Larry Lewis with UC Santa Barbara. I've always known you as coach. I remember you had a couple years where you weren't coaching. I think you were scouting for San Antonio or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when you had those years off, okay, is there anything that you reflected on looking back as a coach and, you know, thinking about your future years as a coach that you learned in those years off? Is there anything that really, you know, stood out for you? Good to see you, and thank you for being on this, Coach.
Yeah, thank you, brother. The thing that a number of things happened, but what RC and Pop allowed me to do, one, they gave me a title that was way above anything that, you know, aligned with my vocational skill. They made me the vice president of basketball operations, but that wasn't what I did. What they allowed me to do was scout. They allowed me to coach, but they also allowed me to learn from every bucket of the organization. And I got a chance to learn what it was like to be in the training room. I would go over there and just spend time with everybody in the training room. I'd take, you know, part of my day and go spend time with guys in the weight room. And I went on scouting trips with Brian Wright and Andy Birdsong and learned the grind of scouting. RC allowed me to be in the room when we would have trade calls, and I understood how hard it was to make a trade, you know. I'd sit in the box where his seats were, and because they're the Spurs, so many people would come to San Antonio to try to, you know, learn the secret sauce. And so I was around all these different teams and companies from all over the world. And it developed an empathy for other people, because I shamefully tell you, when I was a head coach, I was like this, you know, all I thought about was the players and me and the staff. That's it. And it allowed me to understand what it's like to be a GM and how hard it is to put a team together, and what it was like to run a G League team. Because I was going back and forth to Austin to see our guys play, and that's how I ran into Coach Shaka. And so it allowed me to learn from different people in the organization. I spent time with marketing, spent time with people in sponsorships. I didn't even realize how much we needed all those people so that we could have the money we had to build our team. The importance of allowing, folks to come watch your practice. Because when I was in New Orleans, like, people would want to come to the practice and I'd be like, nah, we got work to do, And I had to, see the importance of all of that stuff and how every part of the organization and program was important, because I wasn't thinking that way. I thought it was all basketball. I thought it was the players and the coaches. Those were the only important people in the organization, and that's just not true.
Thank you.
Coach, we really appreciate your time tonight. We respect your time, so we're going to let you go. But I think that at the very least, there's a lot more Phoenix Suns fans on this call than there were an hour ago. So just want to tell you how much we appreciate you. And, personally for me, how much I look up to you as a coach, and just the way that you go about things with your players is something that I think a lot of us look at and watch really, really closely. So just know that, we're all cheering for you and rooting for you, and also trying to emulate you. So thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Coach, I'm as I said to you before, man, this is a huge blessing for me to be a part of this. And I hope this isn't the last time I get to be with you guys, because it helps me, bro. Iron sharpens iron, so does one man sharpen another. So I'm thankful for the opportunity. And if you guys ever want to chat or text is always the best way for me. Like, get my number from Coach Smart. I'd be humbled to be in relationship with all you guys, because this is what it's about to me. So, Coach, thank you for inviting me, and I'll be following you guys, man. That's one reason I love to have your number, so I can follow you guys. But thank you, man. God bless you guys. Coach, I love you, man. You're awesome. And there's a lot of pride when I tell people that I know Shaka Smart. Like, when your name comes up, I'm like, well, I know him. So thank you, Coach. Appreciate you, man. Tell your family I said hello.
Thank you. Everybody, we're going to keep doing this throughout the season. I know it'll get a little bit more challenging as we get into games, but if you can make it on Sunday night, come on, and we'll continue to bring in some great people that we can all learn from. So good luck as you guys get ready for the first game, and look forward to talking to you guys soon.
Hey, guys, if anybody's on the call for the first time and you guys want to be a part of the text message chain that we got going, I'm going to stay on so I could get you guys information. If you guys are not interested, you could just click off. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks again, fellas.
Thank you, guys.
Coaches, how's everybody doing?
Doing well.
Good.
Good, man.
If you guys could just put your information, type it in. What I'll do is type in your telephone number and your email address. Tomorrow, I'll place everybody in various groups that we got going on. We got about 4 groups going on right now. And what it is just I'll send out information about the Zoom call meetings, who's coming on, different subjects that's going to be talked about. also just to keep it light-hearted, just keeping in touch. So I'll throw out a text message just to see how everybody's doing. See when's the first games, when is it televised, is it online? So we use this just to keep in touch with each other. Sounds good?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, my guy.
Anytime. Everybody got the information in? Perfect.
Coach, is this the same BCU page that's on Twitter? Is it at the BCU on Twitter?
It is.
Okay, cool. We follow each other then.
Perfect.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Let me get everybody's information. Where's my notes? Copy this down so I make sure I don't lose it. Perfect. I think I got everybody. Excellent. What you guys think of the call?
I enjoyed it. It was great.
Good, good. Thanks for joining us.
It was great. It's fantastic. Thank you for everything that you're doing, Mark.
Anytime. Happy to help. If you guys need anything, just shoot me a text. I'll email you guys. You guys have my email. Shoot me a text if I can help you guys in any way. Happy to help. All right, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks.